sounds like a dreadful insult.
It does. Right, it's 17 minutes past 6. It's Roundtable with David Coverdale from Whitestake and Stuart Coleman. And after the shadows and polecats, we now get on to something that's closer to David Coverdale's heart. No. Or is it? This is a new single from Bernie Marsden, who, of course, he and David are bosom buddies. This is Bernie's, in a manner of speaking, this is Bernie's new single, Look at Me Now. It's Bernie Marsden, Look at Me Now. It's out on Parlophone, produced by Bernie and also Guy Mead. And he wrote it himself. Where better to start, of course, with Bernie Marsden than Stuart Coleman?
Fair thing here. Mustard.
I heard you play again, I think it was today, the new single by John Miles. Was that this morning?
No, it wasn't me.
It wasn't you. Well, it was played. This reminds me of that simply because that reminded me of Toto's Hold the Line, a record I adored about 2 or 3 years ago from the States. And that seems to have had a lot of influence upon the British heavy metal scene, that type of thing, because it was that lovely fusion, if you like, if lovely is the word to use, I don't know, of heavy metal and commercial pop music. It's bridged smack down the middle, and this, I'm sure, is what Bernie Marsden's been going for. But I'm sure David Coverdale probably put me all to pot by telling me something.
Well, I think Rainbow and Whitesnake have both hit that that nice commercial, the commercial sort of heavy pop, which is charted, rather than people shying away and saying, "Oh, a bit too heavy that to play." You know,
I think it's a very fine little area to hit.
It is.
So it's pretty commendable if you can do it.
Is it my turn now?
Yes.
I think that's a hit. No, I think
you can't say any more than that, can you?
Yes, I can, as a matter of fact. No, that's the most refreshing track I've heard so far, regardless of my association with Bernie. Certainly the most refreshing. I agree to a certain extent of the similarities between, like, your Toto and your Foreigner and all this kind of thing, because there was a dreadful period of time in this country when what everybody's talking about, heavy metal artists, were sort of laid to seed or watching the country estates, breed horses or whatever. And the only things that were coming out was what I think of as lame rock, which is the American stuff. I don't find any sex in that music. I don't find any raunch or anything like that. I just find loud guitars with 16-bar pianos going through and commercial hook lines or whatever. I'm sure, something like that's in the back of Bernie's mind. He likes Toto very much. I don't like Toto. But I do like the song Look at Me Now. I've heard him, going through it. And it's certainly the most refreshing track I've heard so far. And I'm looking forward to, where are we? Girls' school, to change my mind.
Actually, how long have you and Bernie known each other?
Too long. About 4 years. We've been working together 3 years. We met when Bernie joined Pace Ashton Lord, A Blast from the Past.
Well, they went to record in Germany, I remember, didn't they?
Yeah, well, I was living in Munich at the time, and I met Bernie at when John and Ian were recording with Tony Ashton and various celebrated members of the rock and roll profession.
So, because I did an interview with him on local radio just before he was due to go out there to record that. We did a 2-hour interview, a silly interview one night, which was quite nice.
Oh, Bernie's a diamond. He really is. I'd like to see that happen, because I've been introducing him recently, quite wrongly when I thought about it, on reflection. I was on guitar and vocals, soon to be pursuing a solo career, which doesn't sound exactly nice. But
so he came along to one of the recordings of Pop Quiz, actually, and was sort of waxing ecstatic over the pop music questions. And he said, "Oh, we play this all the time on the road, like firing questions at each other."
Absolutely. If you got Moody and Marsden on that show, you couldn't have anybody else on after them. I mean, them and Ray Coleman, the editor of Melody Maker, it's dreadful just sitting there. It's like University Challenge.
Correct. Okay, maybe we'll have one a bit later.
Sounds fun.
And talking of Toto, just before we move on to the next one, does anyone remember who Toto was?
The dog in Yellow Brick Road, Wizard of Oz.
Yes, 2 points. So Stuart Coleman's 2 up, and we'll have another one later.